October 2015, Las Vegas. Neighbors noticed something strange coming from a nearby building. Every time they walk past, there's an awful rotten meat stench, bloody boxes stuffed in dumpsters, and blood on the sidewalk. December 2015, health inspectors arrive on site, but nothing could have prepared them for what was waiting inside. As they approached the building, they found a severed, frozen human torso thawing in the sun. As it melted, bits of human flesh and blood broke away and floated to a nearby storefront and school. You see, this building belonged to Southern Nevada, a body broker company that acquires corpses, cuts up the body, and then sells the parts for money. These body brokers are thriving, bringing in hundreds of millions of dollars every single year. But how is any of this legal? This is the profitable business of dead bodies. This underground industry reaches far greater than anything you could have imagined, and it's all hiding in plain sight. But to really understand this entire operation, we need to go back to the 1800s. It's the 1800s. You work in a factory for 15 hours a day. You're exhausted, sweating, bleeding. All this effort for $1.34 paycheck. Not even enough for a bag of flour. After suffering for years, you know your family deserves better. You know you deserve better. So when you hear about a new job that pays nearly 60 times more and only requires 2 hours of work a night, you get excited. You see, there's a small select group of people who really want dead bodies. The fresher the better, and they're willing to pay $80 for each one, an amount that would take you over 2 months at the factory to make. Look, during this time, it was hard to get dead bodies because it was illegal, outside of executed criminals. So there just weren't enough corpses to keep up with the demand. And this select group of people demanded a lot. So you become a supplier, a grave robber. You wait until the sky turns black, you sneak into a graveyard, claw open a casket, and then slowly drag the body back to your customer. You see, this group of people, your customer, is a nearby medical school, and you both have a mutual secret agreement. They need dead bodies for research, and you need money. They don't care how you get the bodies as long as you get them, and they'll do everything they can to protect you, to make sure you keep supplying. How? Once the exchange happens, they'll immediately cut off its scalp, face, ears, eyes, teeth, nails, and any other identifiable features, preventing anyone from recognizing the corpse. And business is good. Someone dies every few days, so there's an endless supply of free dead bodies. And it's for a good cause. You're furthering science. But then one day, something changed. Something that no one could have ever imagined. In 1968, the US passed the Uniform Anatomical Gift Act, making it even more illegal to buy and sell dead body parts. But there was just one problem, one massive loophole that people exploit to this day. The law didn't say anything about buying and selling dead bodies for research purposes. Fast forward to today, and now you don't call yourself a grave robber anymore. You're not an unethical barbarian. No, you're a professional. You're now a non-transplant tissue bank that deals with raw materials for medical, education, training, and research purposes. Medical jargon gives you credibility to the public, and having a complex name confuses people, making them think you're the same thing as organ donations. But in reality, you couldn't be more different. You see, organ donation involves you donating your organs, like your kidney, to someone in need, often saving their life. A highly regulated industry. Non-transplant tissue banks, or body brokers, involve buying and selling dead body parts for research purposes, with little to no oversight.
Quite frankly, it's the Wild West. There's almost no state or federal regulatory body or a code that oversees how this is all done. It is completely
Wild West, essentially a free-for-all industry. So with this confusing distinction, some fantastic PR campaigns, and clever business strategies, you develop a positive public image in the 21st century, and business is booming. By 2015, the body broker industry grew to 34 different companies, with one company alone making $27 million in revenue every single year. And there's no slowing down in sight. Medcare alone ships around 10,000 pounds of human body parts every single year, and how much these companies charge is shocking. GenLife charges schools $11,000 for a whole cadaver. ScienceCare charges $12,000. Oh, but if you just want a specific body part, it's cheaper. A foot? $450. A whole leg? $1,100. Or what about just a torso with a head? $2,400. You see, the lack of regulation makes buying and selling dead bodies simple. It's cheap and easy to start, it's very profitable, and you can pretty much do whatever you want. So, Here's how you can start a body broker business. First, don't even worry about getting medical training, accreditation, or any degree. None of that is necessary.
I've always been interested in anatomy, and I think I was just I was working at U-Haul, and I think I was kind of like just ready for something that could let me grow and kind of branch out a little bit.
So you have this person, Larissa Powerly, who worked at U-Haul, a moving truck company, as a traffic coordinator, who just decided to become a body broker.
And that was just really incredible to actually not see anatomy in a book. It was like really there, and that was just, I don't know, it was just really fascinating.
Okay, fascination, that's passion, that's good. Maybe she went through some intense training, took some classes, something that qualifies her to cut up corpses, store and deliver body parts for research purposes.
You know, I think, and oddly, right before then, he had given me like one procurement training class. And so I had just enough knowledge, right, from just watching, observing. I remember we had an order for an Achilles heel, and I'm like, I'm gonna find that Achilles heel. So I looked in the anatomy book, and I got the Achilles heel, and I like scraped it. It was like amazing.
One training class and an anatomy textbook. This is Stephen Gore, former body broker, who admitted that he also just relied on books and the internet. So after you spend a few hours on Reddit and YouTube brushing up on your knowledge of the human anatomy and medical stuff, you're ready to start chopping up bodies. So it's time to go on hunt and look for willing donors. And this is the easy part. Industry secret? Target desperate, vulnerable people who don't have much money. People who just lost a loved one and can't afford burial or cremation services are the perfect victims. You'll seem like a savior, an angel sent from heaven who will gift them cremated ashes of their loved ones for free. And all they need to do is donate their body for research purposes. A noble endeavor. Feed them a line about how it'll make a difference in the world. But you know, deep down, that's not the whole truth. Give them a confusing contract filled with medical jargon while they're grieving, and when you finally have the body, don't worry about getting expensive medical grade equipment to chop it up. Just use a regular run-of-the-mill chainsaw. That's what your competitors do. And now you just sit and wait for a buyer who needs body parts, but only for research purposes. Except that's not entirely true. You can actually sell the parts to literally anyone. And when you look deeper, you'll see why. On August 29, 2016, Brian Grow, a journalist for Reuters, sent Restore Life's Bird, a body broker, an email. We are seeking pricing, including shipping costs, to procure one cervical spine specimen for purposes of a research project involving non-transplant tissue. After a few emails back and forth, Grow purchased a full cervical spine for $300 plus $150 for shipping. No background check, no verification, no vetting, no screening, nothing. On September 27, 2016, FedEx delivered the spine in a cardboard box. A week later, the same body broker followed up and offered a discount on knee and foot specimens because they needed to free up some freezer space. This is one of many examples of how little oversight exists today. Someone just needs to claim the parts are for research purposes, and then you can sell it to them, which is good for your business because that means you can make more money. But I hope you remembered, you have to give some cremated ashes back to the family. So just go ahead and find something extra, like a hand or a foot, and cremate that. If it doesn't look like there's enough ashes, just throw in some sand, concrete, whatever.
The FBI has hired a lab to test the cremains given to Ruthie and many other families.
You know, I just wasn't expecting to find stuff like this. There's a lot of wire.
Lab reports have informed families that instead of cremains, their cherished boxes contain cement, sand, and other non-human particles.
Once you're done with that dead body, it's time to start this all over again. But here's another industry secret. You'll have a much easier time getting dead bodies if you make a deal with your local funeral homes. Offer the morticians anywhere from $300 to $1,430 for referrals. But all these questionable acts are nothing compared to what I'm about to tell you, because it gets much, much worse. In 2013, 74-year-old Doris Stauffer passed away. Doris suffered from Alzheimer's disease, but what shocked doctors the most is they couldn't find any gene for it, meaning the disease could have mutated, and Doris's brain could be the key to finding a cure. So Jim Stauffer, Doris's son, decided to donate her brain to science in hope that his mother's legacy would cure this terrible disease forever. He contacted Biological Resource Center, BRC, a local body broker, to help. Within the hour, BRC dispatched a driver to collect Doris. Jim signed a form that authorized her body for medical experiments, and in a few minutes, he said goodbye to his mother's body for the very last time. But nothing could have prepared him for what was coming. 10 days later, Jim received her ashes in the mail, thinking everything was good. His mind was at peace knowing his mother helped save lives. But in 2016, he discovered something that would shatter his whole world. In 2016, Jim found out that BRC sold his mother's body for $5,893 and shipped it to a US Army research facility. Not for Alzheimer's disease like he hoped. Nope. Instead, what the US Army did was strap Doris's body to a chair, place a small device underneath it, and it was discovered that Doris Stauffer's body was used as part of an Army experiment to measure damages caused by roadside bombs. I can't even imagine how Jim must have felt when he heard the news. But this is just one of many despicable scandals. 2010, 60 human heads were found being shipped in plastic containers by airline employees. 2012, an entire corpse was found just lying on the side of the highway. It was traced back to a body broker's van. 2016, Arthur Rathburn was convicted of selling HIV-infected body parts to medical professionals without telling them they were diseased. And there are countless others.
It was a place that very few people could wrap their minds around. You walk in there and you open the giant freezer door and there are human bodies in bags on various shelving units, and you go, wow, this is, it's like something you'd see in a horror movie.
Random body parts stacked on top of each other, a head sewn onto a different body's torso, buckets and coolers of dismembered body parts scattered across the floor. But what if I told you there are some positives to all this? The body broker industry has the potential to do some really amazing things for the world. In the 1800s, the grave robbers, despite their disgusting and unethical deeds, did help build the foundation of modern medicine.
A lot of what we learned anatomically in terms of the body structure, in terms of what would become clinical medicine, we really did learn by virtue of these early kinds of studies that use these illegally procured bodies.
Studying and researching cadavers gives professionals the chance to get hands-on experience. Do you want to be your surgeon's first human operation? Or would you prefer he or she practiced on a body before? A body where, even if he makes a mistake, doesn't mean life or death. Or what about finding cures for diseases? For one, Dr. Armand Krikorian cited a recent potential cure for type 1 diabetes developed by studying pancreases from body donors. But it goes beyond just medicine. For some families, it might be important to have their loved ones cremated, even if just partially. Body brokers give these families an opportunity to choose, especially when they have no other financial options. And look, not every body broker cuts corners to maximize profits. For one, Research for Life invested more than $2 million in quality controlled procedures and medical equipment. Or what about ScienceCare, which became the first body broker to voluntarily earn accreditation by the American Association of Tissue Banks? And remember, all these things, the quality control, medical grade equipment, accreditation, none of that is legally required in this unregulated market. They didn't have to do any of this, but they wanted to. But not many body brokers are like this. Remember Jim Stauffer, the son of Doris Stauffer, whose brain was supposed to be used for Alzheimer's research? He was among 33 plaintiffs that sued Biological Resource Center and won. But there is no amount of money that can ever give these families peace of mind, or the chance to redo the past and ensure their loved ones are treated with dignity and respect in death. The knowledge that they had unknowingly played a role in allowing these body brokers to chop up their loved ones into pieces to make a profit is a burden that they will have to carry for the rest of their lives.
My dad's not at peace, and he's not at peace because of me. I'm trying to block that out, and I'm already getting sad. His birthday's coming up, and I don't think he's at peace. I just don't.
Look, for me, the issue here isn't that someone is making money off of dead bodies. If the donors consent to this, then fine. The issue for me is that currently, in this unregulated industry, these donors aren't fully aware their cadavers will be treated like any regular object, sold to the highest bidder and then used for whatever. Oh, I'm sorry, for research purposes.
The fraud that was perpetuated on these families and the pretenses induced them to donate these bodies in order for these companies to profit off the sale of body parts.
People need to be clearly informed about what's going to happen if they choose this route. And unfortunately, that's not the reality today.
When I first found out, I didn't contact an attorney or do anything because I didn't want to relive the day. I knew I was going to have to go back. I knew I was going to have to tell what happened over and over.
It took her months to decide to join a lawsuit, but she is now resolute.
Why do you want to go through this?
I just want to feel like we won and they lost in some way.
You want justice.
Yes, I want justice.
And you want justice for your father.
Absolutely, because I don't feel like he's at peace. And if we are victorious, I think that's going to help me.